48 hours has been an absolute explosion. So much, in fact, I need alcohol for this video because I know you're looking at the timestamp and you're like, wow, that's long. This is a long video. You're telling me, because we got a lot to go through from beginning to end, covering this Trisha Paytas, Ethan Klein, H3 Frenemies drama. As always, I'm going to start from the very beginning and work through things in which were posted in chronological order. My suggestion is, cheers. You're gonna need one of these because it's a lot. And just to preface this, I'm so over the whole Trisha's doing such a good, she's growing, she's progressing, things are going good for her. That's kind of just thrown out the window now, because a lot of what you're about to see in this video is going to really upset you and anger you, and rightfully so. This is a classic Trisha Paytas self-sabotaging scene in a movie, which always seems to happen. Which is unfortunate. I don't like admitting that. I think it's really sad, it's upsetting, and I really hope things don't get any worse than they already have. Because, well, in the last 48 hours, things have been pretty bad. And here you are, drinking with me, again, and we're gonna go through it, step by step, tweet by tweet, clip by clip. You better be a little bit loopy by the time we're done.
Okay, let's go to your stupid. Make sure that I don't like this segment. Just for the record, fan advice is a stupid segment.
Why?
But we can do it. It's so dumb. What's the point?
To give advice to our fans.
But that's not the, like, oh, no, that's like when people run out of ideas and they start doing Q&As. Like Tyler Oakley ran out of ideas, so he's like, we're gonna do Q&As now because we have nothing else to talk about. Okay, go ahead. It's such a dumb segment.
It's so not. It's
like we
fun.
have nothing to fill the time.
Okay, well, what, you want to talk more about what, Brokeback Mountain, a movie from fucking like 10 years ago?
It's like a lazy podcast. Like, we're gonna play games on the, like, you know.
A lazy podcast. You don't do anything for it. You just show up. We do all the work.
Oh my God, yeah, right.
This is the intro that escalated everything with Trisha. And between you and me, this is rude. And it really just goes to show the out-of-touchness that Trisha Paytas has for not only the podcast, but also fans in general. Having an advice segment or a Q&A segment on a podcast, specifically from fans, is one of the greatest ways to interact with your fans directly and have a more personal connection with them, and perhaps even help them in their day-to-day lives. The fact that Trisha is just so, dismissive of something like this, that not only is it a good idea, but it creates a dialogue. It creates an interaction between creator and subscriber, fan, viewer, whatever, and it can be a really cool thing. The audacity that Trisha has to get on camera and say, well, that's just for lazy people. Q&As are for lazy people. Trish, girl, do you understand what you're saying? Do you know how you're coming across? I don't know why I have a straw. It's so rude to say what you just said here, primarily because not only are you dismissing fans of the show, but you're making it sound like they're not, what they have to say or questions that they want to be more invested in knowing about you guys or having personal advice is just dismissed and looked upon as lazy content. You know what's lazy, Trisha? This is my personal opinion. I may get shit for this. You know what's lazy, Trish? Sitting in front of a camera and eating food. I love eating food. But you know what? One of the most laziest pieces of content anybody can make is mukbangs. Just my personal opinion, sitting in front of a camera, no edits, eating food is lazy. Very, very, very lazy. You're in no position to talk about what is classified as lazy or not. Or put your finger down and say, well, this segment has no substance. It's the laziest thing you can do. You are the epitome of making lazy content. And that's not an insult. I'm not saying that as an insulting thing. It works. It's successful for you. You get mad views. People tune in. People watch you. It's okay. I'm not criticizing you for making lazy content. I'm just pointing out this problem here that you're in no place to criticize Ethan or the employee of his company to make a fan segment calling it lazy when the epitome of your channel is making lazy content, screaming, crying, melting down, making part 56 of whatever you're talking about, all the while stuffing pizza in your face. There's nothing wrong with that. It works for you, that's fine. But like, come on now. Let's be real about what you've just said here. Not okay. Do you even care about the fact that you have fans, that people want to support you? Because from this segment, it doesn't really feel that way.
How am I wrong?
With what? I always contribute. You never had, like, first of all, when you were doing all the podcasts, it was like Keemstar, Jake Paul, like, and everyone's like, we're so sick of hearing about this because it's everything. Like, I saw on this, you had stuff from last H3. You just recycle H3 content on Frenemies. You're like, oh, we're going to do Trisha through the history meme or whatever. And you already did that on the last episode, and I saw it's on here.
I didn't bring it up. I didn't say it.
But the fact that it's already on there, like, I had to bring up all these other topics because I'm like, I don't want to go to that because you brought it up last week.
Let's see. we put together this Gabby Hanna segment.
I mean, I literally, again, could have done that from my head. I always chime in with my topics. Like, I always do because, like, I try and steer it.
Okay, what did you bring on the Logan Paul fight?
I brought it up, first of all, because it's something trending.
You're like, I don't even know what to say about it. Yeah, I don't even know why people watch.
I never pick the costumes. I never do the vlogs. I give so many ideas. I say dancing for the vlogs. I give all these ideas, and you don't. It's just
what's wrong with that advice
for you? I don't think it's a good segment.
The people want to hear from us.
Okay, do it. I'm just telling you my opinion, and all the vlogs we've done, I've suggested other vlogs, and like that never does.
Well, if you don't like it, then we shouldn't do it.
Okay.
Since it's a show about me and you.
No, but you're saying I do all the work, but I'm telling you I don't like all the stuff you do. I'm just kind of go with it because I'm like, okay, I guess this is what you want to do, but I have to start saying no because some things are just not good ideas.
I like it for the record.
Okay.
Sometimes you get really interesting questions.
They're not though.
Trisha, who are you to determine what is and isn't interesting to a subjective audience of thousands upon thousands of people who consume and watch content and then ask questions to you or Ethan?
Brutal.
I just don't like when we spend like, well, whatever.
Go ahead, say it. There's a good script.
But you're asking like, we do all the work. It's like we spent one Frenemies rehashing all the stuff you said about Keemstar and H3 Live, which was 2 days prior.
Okay, it happened one time.
No, it's happened before where you just like bring up stuff that you've already mentioned, and it's fine. But
why are you attacking me?
You asked me, you said tell me, and I'm telling you, like just because you guys come up with everything doesn't mean it's good. It's recycled, a lot of it. So it's like I can come up with new ideas. A lot of it.
No.
Mm-hmm.
If you have ideas, I'm all ears.
I watch H3 Live and we talk about the same thing, and I'm happy to talk about it.
It's not always like that. It's happened before. I agree.
It happened last time. It's happened a lot.
It didn't happen last time, did it?
The title was like pregnancy announcement, which is I'm happy to talk about the pregnancy.
We talked a lot about the pregnancy here.
But it wasn't the pregnancy announcement H3 Live was. It's your guys' thing, which I'm happy to talk about. I'm happy for you guys. But to say like, oh, we don't recycle things, it's like, you know, you do, and it's fine. But I don't make it the same title because it's not an announcement. We're talking about your pregnancy.
I wouldn't say recycling. It's a different conversation.
The original one was Trisha's gonna like something, and it doesn't have to be about me, but I'm just saying like the fact that it's a pregnancy announcement again when it's not a pregnancy announcement because I'm not pregnant. You know what I mean? We're talking about your guys' pregnancy. It was an announcement. You announced it on H3 Live.
Oh, you thought that people would think it was about you being
Of
pregnant?
course it was, because you are, unless you're just recycling the same title you did for H3 Live, which is, it's not, it's just like, I watch H3 Live, I don't want to talk about it on Frenemies. Like, if we're being honest,
well,
you know.
we were going to talk about Hila being pregnant, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah.
But the title has to be pregnancy announcement.
I don't see why that's a problem.
Because you did that on Friday. You're just recycling titles. It's not an announcement. You weren't announcing it.
Okay, so Hila's pregnant, and I'm talking about it with Trisha. Would you prefer that?
Anything to be more creative. It's like the fact that you just talk about what you talked about the week prior is like, and I've seen other people call it out. It's not just me. Like, I mean, people have called it out before. Like the whole Keemstar, I didn't know it was like the 30 minutes was exactly the 30 minutes you did on H3 Live.
Yeah, I agree. That part was
That's crazy.
Sometimes I forget what I've talked about, honestly.
But you're saying you have all this crew that does all this work for you, and nobody could remember that you talked about that 2 days prior?
I agree. Somebody should have said something. I was like, guys, why don't you tell me when I'm talking about the same shit over and over? Because I tell to them, I go, yo, make sure to include this. And they go, oh, okay. But I go, oh, shit, I talked about the same thing. But I feel like you're so angry about this.
I'm literally not, but it's so funny.
Are.
I'm not. I'm angry when you say something.
You need to admit when you're angry.
Ethan, I promise you, this is really is gaslighting. I go to a lot of therapy right now, and this really is. When I say I'm not angry, I'm not. I'm like just trying to tell you that you're like, oh, we do everything for the show, and I'm like saying it's not always good. I'm not angry. If I was angry, I would like leave or something, but I'm not. But you telling me I'm angry
or something. You're not upset or angry. Okay.
Something that I think is important to mention here is that Trisha brings up therapy multiple times in this podcast on how often she goes to therapy. And awesome. I will never diss somebody or put somebody down for going to therapy once a week, twice a week, once a year, whatever. Therapy's good. I go to therapy too. Nothing wrong with it. However, something that I feel like doesn't get mentioned about therapy, at least in the online YouTube world, is you have these influencers who are like, I go to therapy once a week. But here's the thing about therapy. A good therapist gives you a toolbox, right? You open that toolbox and you have to utilize the tools in order to make progress with whatever you're doing. At least I'm in the construction industry. You use a lot of power tools. If you don't know how to use them, you can't do the job and you can't build whatever you're building. In the same way, people going to therapy. Therapists give you the tools to do and heal and be able to respond and cope and have better, healthier mechanisms in order to respond and how to dismantle and destruct bad responses and behavioral patterns or coping mechanisms that you may have. And I feel personally, how frequently Trisha brings up, I go to therapy, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. I feel like personally, I don't, you know what? I'm not even gonna say that because I'm speculating too much. What I'm trying to say is that therapy is fantastic. But if you're not taking the tools and applying them to yourselves, application, what good is going to therapy? You know? Do you see what I'm saying? And with Trisha's most recent meltdown and plethora of videos and tweets and just releasing private DMs that she shouldn't have even released, she's backsliding into the same pattern of behavior that she's had for years on this platform with any sort of relationship that's established that is healthy for her. And as this video continues, you're gonna see that Ethan really cherishes and loves Trisha. However, her reaction to this and throughout other videos and responses through tweets is just not only unprofessional, toxic, unhealthy, but it is destructive. Absolutely destructive. And especially when you blend family and business. That's a hard one. You have to use the tools that therapists give you in order to make progress, in order to move forward and not continuously go back to the same unhealthy coping mechanisms that you've had and used for years.
Okay. All right.
But it is like frustrating when you think you do all this work and like think, oh, we're doing all this great stuff. And it's like, it's not that great sometimes. A lot of it is, and I like appreciate all the work you do and stuff like that, but it's also like, not that great. I don't get input on like people we hire, like all this stuff like that. I don't get
People we hire? Why would I ask you about people I hire?
Because it's Frenemies and you take the budget for paying the crew. That's what you told me. You take highlights, you take 5% to pay the crew.
No,
so why don't I get any input on the crew or what we do?
These are employees of our
So why are you taking
company.
highlights and 5% of Frenemies? You told me that it was to pay them, that they could be working.
It's for production costs.
Okay, but you told me
It's for
at the
production
beginning.
costs.
You told me at the beginning it's like they could be working on other things. Because I made that argument too. I'm like, well, they're already H3. Oh, they could be working on other things. So I'm like, okay, in that
It's
case,
for production costs. I take 5% extra from the podcast revenue, and I take the highlights revenue, and everything else we split.
right. So for production costs.
Yeah.
But again, you were about to move us all to downtown LA, and I was just like, but the production cost should be included.
Yeah.
Like you were going to share the cameras because Dan said, oh, we have to get new computers and new cameras. But I'm like, Frenemies
And I
has the
obliged
budget.
you. I said, okay, fine.
But you fought me on it.
Because we bought a studio downtown. That was always the plan, by the way, that we were going to move downtown. And then all of a sudden, I was
For
like, yo,
H3,
and
I
I
had
was
no
like, yo,
consent
we're
to it.
moving. I told you ahead of time, but it's fine because
You didn't tell me downtown
we're
LA.
still at my house now. But I said, okay, so I was like, yo, by the way, we moved into our new office. We're going to be there next week. It's good. And then you're like, oh, I don't want to go down there. But we had made all these plans to move the set and everything and to do everything. So you're like, I don't want to go down there. And then we talked about it for a little bit. And I said, okay, fine. And so we had to buy.
But that was the first time we ever spent money on production costs.
It's not about that, dude. It's literally about we are producing the show and I'm taking a cut. I feel like that's beyond reasonable.
All the
Beyond
highlights.
reasonable.
5%.
Yes.
5%. Do you realize how much 5% was of our last one? That should be enough. But also like highlights, and then you weren't the membership I had to fight for because you weren't. You're like, oh, I forgot to tell you about the members. Like
I giving
it's
you
crazy.
50% of all the members, even though we work and do all of the work. I don't know why you fight me on money. The deal you have is beyond reasonable.
Okay.
It is absolutely unprofessional for Trisha to bring up financial stuff in this podcast. And as somebody who's worked behind the scenes and worked with production companies a couple times in my life, I know for a fact that 5% of production costs is actually really, really a small amount. Production costs typically can go anywhere from 30 to 40 to 50%. And the fact that she's even bringing this up publicly on the podcast is just, it is beyond unprofessional. But of course, this is Trisha Paytas. She doesn't know boundaries. She's never cared really about boundaries in regards to anybody. Violating people's boundaries, blasting things that should not be public. I don't know. This is really uncomfortable to watch personally, but it only escalates and gets significantly worse. And Ethan eventually made a video response, which we're gonna get into furthermore because Trisha, well, I'll let you guys watch.
No, but I feel like a lot of frustration you have about everything with the.
Frustrated. When I'm bringing stuff up, you get defensive. I'm not frustrated. I'm pointing out these things because I would like to know. I just want everything to be a lot more transparent because I'm like, what are the production costs?
I can't be more transparent.
Can you show me all the costs of production
It's not like an itemized thing. We are doing the show. That's the cost.
So if you don't think 5% is like enough for the producing the show?
5% and the highlights was what we agreed to at the beginning, and that's what it is.
Oh my God. Okay, if you think that's what it's worth, okay.
It's worth more than that, to be honest with you. You're getting a very generous deal. And the sponsors that we work to get, right? We do all the work to bring the sponsors.
I mean, I had all of Adam and
50%.
Eve for the first 20 shows. So I mean, I appreciate what you do, but don't act like I don't bring it. I brought.
Yeah, you
all
brought
of that.
Adam and Eve, and so that was one sponsor we worked with.
That's
which
all we
was
had for
awesome.
the first
And now
10
we have
sponsorships.
tons of sponsors every episode because it takes time, obviously, to get the show up and pitching, and you get 50% of all of that. I feel like the deal you get is super fair. And I feel like you're gaslighting me, to be honest, saying that you're not frustrated about
But
that.
I'm not.
Because it
Ethan.
really is a source of every time something comes up where it's I hired somebody or this, that, and oh, you don't do that much on the show.
I'm bringing attention
It's
to it. I'm not
literally
upset. I would text you. I would tell you if I
always
was.
comes down to, oh, you get this extra 5%. And so
Because you're saying,
not
why
fair.
should I get an input on the employees? That's what you said. And
Because
you brought up to me
they
that.
don't just work on Frenemies, they're my employees.
Okay, but when I said that to you originally, you said, oh, we pay the employees. They could be working on other things. So why don't we have Frenemies employees and I get input if we're spending 5% of the budget towards them?
I think that's not what it is.
That's
If
what
I
you said.
So then that's
But
I don't
okay,
remember,
to say
but that's not
gaslighting
what
is
it
telling someone how they feel, and you're telling me how I feel, and I'm telling you I don't feel frustrated or upset.
Oh, man. Trisha doesn't know the definition of gaslighting. And you know what? Let's talk about gaslighting for a little bit. This is a term that is often used by a lot of people, including Gabby and Trisha. Very fascinating if you really examine their speech patterns, because they often use words like this, Gabby and Trish, gaslighting. What does gaslighting actually mean? What is the real definition from a scientific, psychological standpoint? What does gaslighting mean? Gaslight means to manipulate someone by psychological means into questioning their own sanity. Now, it's really obvious that Trisha is irritable. She is frustrated. It's very, very clear. Her agitation, her kind of aggressiveness towards Ethan. But what I do know is that the word gaslighting in the applicable sense that she's using here is not, the definition of it. Gaslighting isn't just telling somebody how they feel, it's making them doubt themselves in questioning not only their reality, but their identity as a person. Now, for example, one example of gaslighting would be isolation. There's different types of gaslighting that people can do, but isolating is one that I've personally dealt with when somebody who is gaslighting you says, nobody is ever going to love you like me. Nobody's ever going to put up with your crap like I do. I've dealt with phrases like that, and that's a great example of gaslighting, because if you get told this thing enough, then you start to really question yourself, am I really not worthy of love? are you the only person who's gonna love me because I'm that bad of a person? When the reality is you're not actually a bad person at all. They're gaslighting you into questioning your own self-identity as a person. I see so many influencers and big creators use words where they don't really understand the context and what it's classified as. And I wish people would just stop using these buzzwords when things don't go their way or there's a disagreement. Having a civil disagreement, having a conversation, and people don't agree, that's not gaslighting. That's not manipulation. And don't you think it's a little strange that Gabby Hanna, Trisha Paytas are going back and forth, accusing each other of gaslighting each other and manipulating each other? Just food for thought there. It's a wild, wild ride.
What else that could be? How am I gaslighting you by telling you I'm not feeling this way? How is that gaslighting you? I'm not feeling this way.
Okay.
I wouldn't show up. I wouldn't come here. I would,
You listen, you can be upset and not
But I'm not.
because you could be upset and then also not be I'm not showing up. Fuck you.
I'm not
there's
upset.
levels.
If I was upset, I wouldn't show up.
I'm just explaining. Because you can be upset and still show up.
But I'm
That's
not
my point.
upset, and that's what gaslighting is. Because you're saying I'm gaslighting you by saying,
you. You're not upset. You're perfectly.
Oh, wow.
You're in a perfect condition right now.
okay, wow, holy cow, that's crazy. I mean, I don't know how you. I just don't see what you just did. That's really.
What did I
crazy.
do?
We have to end it now. Really.
What did I do?
We got to stop for real. Really. We need
Okay.
to stop. Please. Okay.
Whenever you're ready, you
All
can
right.
walk away.
So. No, because I don't want to title this.
It's the
Trisha-
pizza curse.
Can we just edit
I'm not
it
going
out?
to title it
It's not. All
Trisha's
right.
thing. It's the pizza curse. It is.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't have got pizza. The pizza? Oh no, it was pizza. Trisha, let me just say,
The
I'm
fact,
sorry.
Ethan, that you just did that, you're right. You're
I don't know
right.
what I just
Nothing's wrong
said.
with you. But I go. You don't know how much therapy I go to a week. I go to 4
But
Zoom
Trisha,
sessions a
you
week.
can't-
No,
I understand,
Ethan,
but okay,
what you
all right.
just said was, "You're right, Trisha. Everything's fine." That's insane. The fact that you did that to me is
It's-
But Trisha, you keep saying everything's fine. You're not angry. You're not irritable. So when he's like, okay, fine, whatever, you're not what you're claiming that you are, then it's, oh, I can't believe you're doing this to me. I can't, do you see what you just did? So he dismisses the fact that you're not angry or irritable or whatever. And now it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. Do you see what you just did? Going to therapy, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't mean jack shit. If you're not actively making a goal to break habits and develop more healthier coping mechanisms for how you deal with problems.
It's not insane. We're friends.
was
We're
so
having
nice.
a friendly conversation. I shouldn't have to walk on eggshells around everything I say.
All right, Ethan, I'm
We have
asking to end this. I'm asking
You can leave anytime, Trisha.
But then you're making this thing where we're not ending the show and you get to sit here and be like, okay, well, that just happened and you're eating pizza and then
I will
joke
end
and
the show
whatever.
the minute you walk
All right,
off the
so
frame.
let's just end it, please. Thank you guys for watching. And I don't want it to be a thing where you're just sitting here eating pizza and you become a meme.
So then I'll say, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Obviously, I don't want to get an argument
I
over
really
like
need
your
to
emotions.
leave.
Okay, all right, we're done. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Now, it's important to mention here that Trisha has actually done this on 2 separate occasions on Frenemies before. However, this is like the 3rd instance of this happening, and well, the deal has been sealed because immediately after this was uploaded, this was on a paid membership channel, like I think 24 hours before it was posted live. In my personal opinion, Ethan should not have uploaded this episode, or at least not the last 10 minutes of this podcast. I think it was unwise for him to upload this episode because by doing that, it set off a chain reaction with Trisha Paytas. Because obviously you have thousands of people who are consuming this content, so they're gonna have an opinion on Trisha Paytas and how she's acting and how she's, responding and just really, really unprofessional and making it awkward and bringing up financial things that she shouldn't be bringing up, and blah, 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 blah. We know how Trisha Paytas is. There's an established pattern of behavior that, I don't know, I gave the benefit of the doubt, which I thought changed, but clearly, in the last 24 hours, it has not, and she's kind of backsliding into the same patterns that she's been doing for that doesn't necessarily make her a bad person. We're dealing with the podcast stuff right now, so what happened next? Well, after this podcast went up, Trisha uploaded a video. Then Trisha uploaded another video. Then Trisha uploaded another video. And then Trisha oh God, uploaded another video. But we're gonna go through those in order. I am gonna edit some stuff down and condense it because I don't wanna make this 6 hours in length. Nobody has 6 hours of Trisha Paytas to invest into.
That I need to step away from Frenemies, and it's really, really with a heavy heart that I say that. A lot of people were upset by my little episode yesterday, and then last night, of course, I talked to Ethan, and he was saying the crew is really upset with me, and that they didn't want to film the vlog today, and I respect that, and I respect him being on their side. And Ethan and I had a lot of text conversations last night. Like that's not an issue. The money is not the issue. From the beginning, I thought that went towards crew for Frenemies and vlogs for Frenemies and all that stuff like that. Like I really did, and like I thought like I would have more of a say. And last night, and again, there's literally no blame in this on my end. Last night Ethan's like, H3 produces it, you are the talent. And that's when I realized like it's different than what I thought it was. Like I thought we were 50-50 building this show. But my issue bringing that up was when he was like, why do I have to tell you about things that I'm doing, like people I hire and stuff like that? Because he hired someone new, which I have no issue with. Like, it's a lovely person. Like, I don't have an issue with them. But I was like, oh, I thought, like, I would get to have a say. And we did, before the episode went live, we did have a discussion saying, like, I had a producer in mind that I think would be really, really great for the show, and we would get to do more things. So then we went to the segment part of the show. And apparently that was, like, this new hire's idea, which I truly didn't know that this new hire did this. And, he's like, well, that's rude. And then I was like, well... And then I said something that it was lazy or something like that. And he's like, well, you don't do anything. But I put out so many ideas for the show. And I like listed them, like aerial gymnastics, like Dancing with the Stars, like clay pottery and the thing. And it just got really frustrating. And I did get frustrated. And I guess everyone's like, you're gaslighting, was saying you're not. And at the beginning, like, I really thought I was just like being assertive, right? Like just saying how I feel. And then it did get into frustration because I was like, oh God, I could feel it just all like crashing, right? So then when he's like, why should I tell you who I should hire? And I was like, well, I thought that's what the 5% went towards. I don't want the 5%. I even said that to Ethan so many times yesterday. Like, I don't want it. I don't want, and the membership thing, just to clarify, is like when like, I didn't know about the membership until like maybe like 3 months into Frenemies or whatever. So starting from that time that I asked about it is when I was getting 50%. And a lot of people like thought that was, I'm not getting 50% the whole channel, whatever it was up until like February, like that kept there. And then I got 50%. And like, for me, as like half the views, like I do feel like I contributed half to Frenemies, building the H3 channel. Like I would have loved to have Frenemies on my channel and like built up my channel. I could have built sets, like I'm capable of this stuff, you know? But I was like, well, it'd be nice to get like, because members, ships is a huge thing, whatever. And I'm sure he thought it was unfair too. And I get it. Like, I get it. Like, and I get now he's saying that H3 produces and he deserves that as a producer. But it's like, I would have loved the opportunity to pitch in half for the set to, because I really do feel like I built this show, like, with them, like at 50-50. Like I don't think I'm the main reason, because God knows my channel and my podcast doesn't do like what Frenemies does, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like H3, I have like it wasn't doing what it's doing now either, and I feel like I helped build that. And I know this sounds like I'm just being an absolute crybaby about the situation, and like I guess all that to say, like I really am just, well, I think the biggest thing for me is it is the crew issue. And I am so sorry if I came across rude, but like it's so weird because like I don't feel sorry for talking about this and saying it, because I've been kind of like saying it since the beginning. Like they're all so nice. The crew is so nice. I have no issue with them as people. It's just like I don't feel comfortable walking in to something Ethan's built. Like I thought Frenemies we were building together, like from the beginning.
Trish. It's really interesting that you get on camera multiple times and say that you had no problem with staff or the employees of H3's company, but then behind the scenes, you're telling Ethan how trashy they are. You said their work is trash. I didn't, but if I'm being honest, it is. Trisha is in the green. Sam, for example, made the entire questions advice segment and spent a lot of time going through the questions and organizing things. Abe didn't do proper research. And you were like, this is a horribly stupid idea. His summer one's my video's wrong. You didn't ask me. I read the comments now. Ethan replies, try to find employees who are all perfect all the time. It doesn't exist. And then there's things you tell me that are dumb. That's why I don't want Sam there. She's gonna be sensitive to that. I didn't know. I don't know about you, Trisha, but in multiple videos you keep saying, I'm so respectful to the crew. Yet you're trashing them behind the scenes saying that they're all trash. How exactly does that mean you're being respectful? It's actually very time-consuming to go through hundreds and even thousands of comments and pull out really good ones and then organize them chronologically and put them in a frame. But then I shouldn't really be surprised, as you yourself, Trisha, you hardly edit in any of your content. So naturally, you don't even know what real video production is like, because you pay people to make your music videos and all these things. You just pay people money. But H3 has an entire group of employees making this production work. And you're just here pointing fingers, making demands, how things need to grow, upset that you walk in and you are talent of the show, thinking that you somehow own the business. Like that's what this is. It's pure entitlement. It's ungratefulness. Maybe you went into this, and from what I can gather, you went into this on the podcast thinking that you like were part of the brand, as in like you are. But I'm talking about like you think that you're on like the business lease or something, like your name is attached to H3 Productions on the actual physical lease, and it's not. It's his company. If I have a company and I bring somebody in as talent to co-host with me, they don't own my company. They don't get to point fingers and say, you can't do this. They can make suggestions. I can either take it or leave it. I'm giving them 50% of everything, but they don't own my business. They don't control who I hire and who I bring in and who I want to work with. Honestly, it just sounds like you wanted more control and you didn't have that. And when you found out that things were not the way that you thought they were, you were upset, hurt, and had a meltdown, and were disrespectful to not only the crews who made the show and made the design and everything behind the scenes, but you carry on and make, what, 6-7 videos at this point?
And I think the best thing for me to do is like step down when it's like no longer serving me. And I will say, for the record, like Ethan and Hila have been like so freaking kind to me, like, and I hope it doesn't affect our like personal relationship, because like obviously like they are like gotta be family. Like I really love them, but at the same time I always say like don't work with family, don't work with people you're close with, and like I kind of like feel that, you know, right?
Now, in most instances, I normally don't use YouTube comments as a way to prove a point, but I saw these comments and they were just quite amazingly accurate for this segment. Trisha, you talk about adding more employees, but then mention that you would be a horrible boss. Who would manage these employees? Ethan? Shouldn't he be compensated for that, running the production? You have the nerve to make demands but offer no real support. All new employee would fall under his responsibility, his insurance, his tax, salary, benefits, accountants, time. All for you to show up on a Monday without doing a day-to-day managing a production crew. Trisha treats the show as her show, not Duo's. That's why she gets angry when Ethan talks about Helia, when he promotes Teddy Fresh. When he titled the video about Helia and the pregnancy, why wouldn't Ethan talk about it? It's his kids and half of his show. Massive news. Ever notice how long she promotes her stuff, showing music videos, ads, and merch? But when he shows off Teddy Fresh, he speeds through it. She always rolls her eyes and is annoyed by the promotion, but Ethan always has to hype up her promo. It's so sad. And this comment is really, really true about the promotion. Even now, in the most recent podcast, at the last episode, he still has her promotion skincare link promoting her brand. And honestly, just in the first video that Trisha uploaded, her walking into the set and realizing that she doesn't own it, it's a disgruntled, oh my god, I don't control this type of situation, despite the fact that all you really have to do up is show up once or three times a week, sit, talk, and get easy banking money. People would love to have the opportunity that you've had, Trisha, and you're just self-sabotaging it all. Now, clearly, no doubt, Ethan and Helia love you. They are family. But your biggest mistake in all of this is going public and releasing private DMs, which you did first, by the way. And then Ethan is put in a really awkward position where he has to respond and even post other private things publicly so people can have his side. You really forced his hand into this. Like, I don't know if you know that, Trisha, but you forced his hand to make a video, and you just you created this escalation here. By uploading a video that you did, he tried to contact you privately, and to no avail, you ignored it. But hey, let's go into the next part of this video, which is Ethan's response to Trisha, because after Trisha uploaded her video, the first one, Ethan dropped a video on the H3 channel, and there's a lot of interesting stuff which is correlated with things that Trisha also says. So before we jump into Ethan's video, there is something that I kind of want to highlight here because this also correlates to the newest episode of the Frenemies podcast. This is the type of mental mind games that, and I don't know if this is a subconscious thing, I don't know if it's due to the illness that Trisha has, I don't know what she has, but I want you to focus on this and listen very, very, very carefully.
That you were a pill addict for a minute.
What?
Yeah, you said that. You said you were really into pills, and you don't talk about that.
Why do I need to talk about that?
Because that's being open. That you're judging me for being crazy, taking pills or whatever. Like I take pills or whatever. But you've done it too, and you're just not open about it.
I don't think that is a defining characteristic of who I am.
I think that is a big thing. That makes sense. Why? Because you're on medication now, and there's no shame or judgment in it. But like, hey, if you're going to shame me for being off meds, you should say, hey, I'm on meds.
I'm not shaming you for being off meds.
That's what it sounds like. You just called me crazy,
but here's
which
what you
means
do.
I'm off
You know what you just
medication.
did? You're trying to see. This is why you are such a dangerous person, especially to be close with.
So number one, not only is that crazy, crazy terrible to use that against somebody, especially that like on live, like on the show, like completely out of the blue, like what people's struggles and stuff like that, to try to exploit that or use that in a way to like demean them, that's completely out of line. Like her bringing that up is just crossing boundaries, in my personal opinion. Like, imagine if somebody brings up something traumatic that she went through, she'd be triggered and have a meltdown, get up, run off the screen, say blah, 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 accuse people. Like, you know that. Like, if somebody triggers Trisha Paytas, well, it's always the other person's provoking them type of, mentality. Not the fact that they do and cross boundaries themselves all of the time, and it's just supposed to be accepted as, well, it's perfectly okay, it's Trisha, I guess it's normalized then. No, 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 and no. But secondly, in that clip that you just listened to, Trisha says, you called me crazy, which means that I'm off meds. You called me crazy, which means I'm off my meds. Nobody said that. But when you have an illness, which I don't know which one it is, but I have an idea, and I'm not even going to say it on YouTube, because then people are going to say that I'm like armchair psychology, which I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if she actually has the things that I think that she has. It's not my place to try to dictate that and make speculation. Until somebody has a proper diagnosis, I'm not going to try to diagnose somebody on the internet. That's just irresponsible, it's dumb, and I wish less people would do that. But I definitely think she has something. But that's the type of language game that you play with, is like, you called me crazy, which means that I'm off meds. Like, she infers and says that he says things that he didn't say. These types of people are terrifying. They're scary. Where you have a conversation with somebody and you don't say something and then they say that you said something. I don't know if people can relate to this experience, but I've dealt with it, and it is a mind of just like, I didn't say that, but they're like, yes, you did say this. And I was like, no, I didn't. Or even in a few instances, Trisha has posted text messages on her Twitter, which we're gonna get into later, saying this is like evidence of so-and-so, but then you read the text and it says the exact opposite, and I'm just like, what? It's like, do you even know how to do basic reading comprehension? I don't mean that in a mean way, but like, are you reading the things that you're actually posting? Are you comprehending what is being said? The answer's no, and that's scary to me. No matter who it is, if it's a guy or girl, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't have to be a YouTuber. I've dealt with this, and it's terrifying. It's a mental mind game, and it is dangerous. It's dangerous to play around with people or even get close to people who act and behave this way. And I give Ethan absolute kudos for having the patience to deal with somebody like this. And I'm not trying to make Trisha out to be a monster here. I'm trying to point out something that I'm observing by watching these videos, by seeing the interactions and seeing how she deals with things. It is not normal. That's all I'm gonna say.
Defend myself or correct or set the record straight in some ways, because it's like with Trisha, she puts me in these tough situations where it's like I'm losing no matter what. She can say whatever she wants, what she puts out publicly, and then if I just sit and take it, everything's distorted, and if I say anything, then I'm the bad guy for coming after or something, which is not my intention at all. This, just for the record, is not, so listen, I don't know what more humanly I could have done to prevent this from happening. Like, I don't know what humanly more I could have done. I feel like I have tried to accommodate her in every possible conceivable way, to make this as comfortable, as equitable. I've been as fair as possible in terms of like money, creatively and stuff. She disagrees with that. So the day after we had like broken up, we had a conversation for the first time ever about her wanting to hire new staff that she would look for and hire to work on Frenemies. That was the first time we had ever discussed that. And after talking it out with her, I agreed. I said, okay, we can, you know what? Again, because I just want to make everything smooth and manageable. We had this big blowout. We talked the evening afterwards. I said, you know what? Let's hire a producer. You tell me who you want to hire, and I'll hire him. And he can work on some of the more complex ideas that you have, because she has ideas like, oh, let's do ribbon dancing. And it's like, okay, well, that's a fun idea. I agree. It's a cool idea. But like actually executing it, finding the spot, filming it, the logistics of getting all the equipment there, everything, is the hard part that we do. So it's like, yeah, I have an idea to go to the moon. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's a cool idea, but like you have to figure it out. That's the hard part. So she said, okay, I want a producer. I said, you know what? It's a good, I don't even hate the idea. Let's get a producer who's going to work with you to produce your ideas. I love it. And then, the next day, without telling me, she drops this video. She's quitting Frenemies, which took me completely by surprise. I don't know. From a business partner perspective and a friend perspective, that video really rubbed me the wrong way, because I woke up after having a conversation with her where I agreed to everything she wanted to do, and I wake up to her being like, saying all this stuff about private conversations we had, and saying, oh, it's the crew's fault. It's the people on the crew were unhappy. She said, why don't I get to hire people? Why are you hiring this new person? I immediately explained to her that hiring Sam had literally nothing to do with Frenemies. We have a big production company. We produce a lot of content. Sam has been working for us freelance for months. And she recently became available for full-time employment. So I said, this is great. I like Sam. I want her to be on the team, and I'm going to hire her as my production company. I said, why should Trisha have a say on who I hire for my production company? It literally has nothing to do with Frenemies. And I explained that to her. But the thing that we discussed, that was kind of like a non-starter is she told me that she wanted a whole new crew for Frenemies because she didn't feel comfortable with them. She wanted a whole new space. She wanted a whole new crew. And it just, I don't know. It's like she couldn't meet me halfway. I was like, yes, producer, whole new crew. We need to essentially fire everybody that's worked on the show from the beginning, find a new space, and change everything for a show that she's already walked out and quit 3 times. So she wants me to hire people, lease an industrial space, of which, by the way, the leases are usually 3+ years on industrial spaces, for something that she's inevitably going to quit. Like, I mean, it's happened 3 times already. So, like, and guess who's going to take all the risk on that? Me. I'm going to risk my ass. Like, I've done this whole process. I've put up the money. I fronted everything because I believe in this. But now it's like, I don't know. I feel like she's rewriting history a little bit.
You have a lot more patience than I ever could have. And you bring up an amazing point. She's already quit 2 other times. Now this is the 3rd time, which is pretty sealed now. But if there's one thing that nobody really wants to continuously keep doing is taking financial risks. You've done everything you possibly could have, humanly possible, to appease this person, and they're still not happy. And I personally believe the reason is because she doesn't have control of things. She's not part of the business. She's talent of the business, and she wants more creative or more control of whatever she wants, and that's the problem. The earlier comments I highlighted, which stated that it's all about her. It always has been only about her. Why doesn't Trisha Paytas' podcast do very well? I mean, yeah, people click on it, people watch it, but why isn't it as big as H3? He has a company. He has a production company. He's created to create content. Production companies are not cheap. It's a lot of work to manage a bunch of employees. Outside of music videos that Trisha Paytas creates, she doesn't have a production team. She sits in front of a camera, changes her clothes, and eats. I know that I sound like I'm being mean, but no, that's the reality. You have somebody who doesn't know actually how to run a company making demands for somebody who does. Ethan. She has a lack of experience, but thinks that she does have the experience to run a company. What do you call this? Like white girl entitlement? I don't know.
On how this came to be. But again, the logistics don't make sense. I can't go hire people and get an industrial space and buy equipment for something that's like so uncertain. I mean, it doesn't make sense. You're just gonna mess with these people's lives, waste all my time and money. It doesn't make any sense. So for me, besides the crew being extremely capable, extremely hardworking, they've busted their asses every week to put on the best show possible. Every Sunday night and the week preceding, we're working. It's the weekend, and we're working on Sunday to put the show together. And so it is disrespectful and demeaning to them to be like, we need to get rid of all of them and hire new people. The people who have worked their asses off to make this show possible. Because at the end of the day, when me and Trisha don't talk all week and Sunday comes around, it's my responsibility and the crew's responsibility, therefore, to put on a show that's actually going to work. And so I made the executive decision as their boss, trying to foster a healthy work environment, that let's just not do the shoot tomorrow, bearing everything that's happened, and take a few days to chill off. And so in the context of that conversation, I think Trisha understandably came to take the meaning like, oh, they're on strike. That wasn't the case. They were always down to shoot it. And I made the decision to not shoot immediately after taking a temp check and after everything that happened. So, and then another thing that's like really unfair is that she keeps saying things like, one of the employees' girlfriends, who was hired without my consent, again, had nothing to do with you, nothing to do with Frenemies, hired for my business, is the reason why, this is all like falling apart is because she was offended that Trisha didn't like the Q&A or the advice segment that we were planning. First of all, I thought it was Sam's idea. It was just an idea she pulled from a document, but she did the work preparing it. I don't think it really matters whose idea it was. The fact that Trisha was just going to sit there and trash their work was kind of unacceptable to me, because ultimately I have to create a safe work environment for my employees. And it's just kind of toxic to sit there and shit on their work. Whoever did it, it doesn't matter who did it. If anyone was upset, it's because she said that she wanted to fire everybody and get a new staff. That made people uncomfortable. Like, okay, well, she doesn't even want to be around me. Okay. But the thing is, she keeps harping that in all of her videos to the point where not only is Sam now getting shit on her like social medias, people have gone out of their way and been like, you're the reason Frenemies is over. People are going to like AB's wife. People are going to Dan's girlfriend and just like random spit firing shit at them with the chance that that's the person Trisha was talking about. And it's just not acceptable, you know. And this was part of a private conversation that she made public to try to justify why she wanted to leave the show. And that to me is just, I don't know.
It is absolutely unacceptable. Trisha Paytas doesn't know or understand or respect anybody's boundaries, and she will say and post anything regardless of how it affects other people's lives. This is evidence of that. What Trisha Paytas does best is she deflects. She puts blame on other people rather than acknowledging the simple fact that this is her fault. She'd rather blame some staff members or say this is the reason why things aren't working out, why I'm mad, why I'm this way, rather than sit back and reflect and say, hey, maybe I shouldn't have trashed people on the stream. Maybe I shouldn't have told Ethan that all of his employees are trash. It is some basic human respect, but I guess when you're a multi-millionaire and you're somebody who has pictures of yourself on your wall, you, Trisha Paytas, maybe the reality just doesn't hit hard enough. That people don't owe you shit. If there's one thing that enrages me to my core, it is entitlement. And quite frankly, that is all Trisha Paytas has. Entitlement is a damn disease.
It's just not cool to do that. I really don't like seeing the crew get shit on for no reason. I have some responsibility to take good care, like to, you know, create a healthy work environment for my employees, and that kind of stuff where she's just taking private conversations and putting it out there that's resulting in like Dan's girlfriend being harassed is just, I don't know. To me, it's unacceptable. And I don't know. I guess some people disagree with me on that, but look, it's gotten to the point where I'm just not speaking my mind anymore. I mean, the whole premise of the show is that we have this openness with each other. And it's gotten to the point where I'm processing like, oh, if I say this, she's going to walk out, which is exactly what happened, you know. But for me, it's like, okay, everything's fair game. She can say anything she wants. She called my wife like the C word. She called me, you know, she said the most horrible things. She said, I'm a terrible parent. Hila's a terrible parent. And for me, it's like, okay. And I understand, again, that she has mental health. She has mental, like, health issues, but I can't be her emotional punching bag. And then the minute I speak up for myself, it turns into another, like, show-ending fight. It's just not a fair relationship, you know? I have Tourette's, by the way, something that she continues to tokenize, which always makes me uncomfortable. I always ask her to stop doing that, insisting that everything I do is, oh, that's Tourette's, that's Tourette's. I don't like it. And I tell her that every time, and she keeps doing it. So, like, you know, it's just not fair. Like, I take all this shit, and she takes no shit ever anymore, you know? Even in here when she says, like, oh, I put out so many ideas, you know, and then here's another thing that was, like, super unfair, is that the night after she posted, or the day of after she posted her I'm Leaving Frenemies video, I texted her trying to be mature and handle it personally, like off the internet. I said, you know, I just want to be honest with you and say I felt it was really unfair how you put that video out, you know, after we worked to try to resolve this. And she ignores my text, and she posts another 20-minute video 30 minutes later that was in response to my text that was more like, oh, the crew's the reason why this happened, and sending even more hate to their fucking Instagrams. It's just like, it's like, dude, I'm a patient man, but I'm not like superhuman. I just was like, I'm reaching out to you to try to resolve this. And your response is to put out another 20-minute video about the situation. And once again, I'm in this impossible position where it's like, she can say and do everything, put out all these videos, tweet DMs and private messaging and shit, and I'm just supposed to sit here like a fucking, like Gandhi. I don't know, dude. It's like she kept pushing me and pushing me. It's like, I'm sitting here trying to be an adult and salvage the situation, and she keeps like pushing the situation into this possible unsalvageable situation to the point where, and it's like, not only that, but now I'm being forced to sit here and make a video that I never wanted to make in response to all the stuff she put out.
That is some of the most incredibly toxic type of dialogue you can have when you try to reach out to somebody to resolve an issue and instead they ignore you or block you, or they do what Trisha did and post another video responding to text messages when they're trying to have a private conversation off the internet. But of course, Trisha doesn't care about the backlash that other people face due to her own actions because she's Trisha Paytas, and when she does her little split personality disassociation, it only escalates and gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and the sabotaging goes so far that there's no recovering from it anymore. Frenemies is dead. I'm so disappointed because I genuinely thought Trisha has been on a really steady path upward, like genuinely, authentically. And then we get to have a back row seat watching this happen live and see how unfairly treated Ethan and his staff is of his company. And it's so frustrating to watch. And there's like, as a viewer of the podcast, there's nothing you and I can do about anything. There's one thing that upsets an audience is seeing people being treated unfairly. And what's really rich is how Trisha Paytas has responded with all these videos. But this particular part of her video, of a video she posted the other day, kind of stood out to me because she says that Ethan was attempting to provoke her.
I asked multiple times to end it and to specifically not show me walking off because it did become a meme all the 2 times before I walked off and the 3rd time. I asked to end it. I really wasn't trying. He said we're having a friendly conversation. He knew he was provoking me. It's not walking on eggshells. It's when someone's asking to end a conversation and just not doing it. It's
No place did Ethan attempt to provoke Trisha. But see, with whatever Trisha has, the way that her brain works, whether it's disassociation, whether it's splitting, I don't know. There is an illness there. An illness that seems to be constantly activated through the internet, through her closest relationships, friendships. And I can't even imagine trying to maintain a friendship or a relationship with somebody where you literally are walking around eggshells, so terrified of you can't express anything because you don't know if they're going to be triggered or not, and they're going to lash out at you. No person in their right mind deserves that type of work environment or employee or partner to work with. Being unstable is not an attractive feature or a characteristic of anybody. Everybody's got their own issues they got to deal with, right? But there are people who genuinely fester in it. They swim in it. They actually use their illness to justify treating people horribly, or being unfair, or being completely unreasonable to such an extent that it becomes an extreme so far that you have to end friendship with them, or in this case, a business, And it's wild to witness. And I truly hope Trisha gets the help that she needs and uses that toolbox, opens that toolbox, and learns to use the tools that her therapist is giving her, and not just using therapy as a validation tool, because that's not what therapy is. You're not going to therapy to be validated. You're going to therapy to get things fixed, to use those tools in a way to better yourself in a healthier way.
How did you hire Sam without consulting me? It's like, I'm sorry, this is our business. She's not just working on Frenemies. Why do I need to consult you who I hire for my business? It seems outrageous. And then she starts going, I want an itemized breakdown of how that 5% is spent. And I'm like, dude, it's not like that. It's a fee. It's a production fee. I'm not giving you itemized deduction of the entire business. It's like these absolutely unreasonable, unimaginable bars that I can never reach. Someone who has done everything possible to reach every bar she set, and that's one. She keeps setting it higher and higher to the point where it's like that is unhumanly possible to reach. And then she has the audacity, and I'm just going to be honest. She starts tweeting out our DMs, and this is just not acceptable behavior. And listen, I know she's like I appreciate the mental health concerns that she has, but like there's only so much that I can tolerate as a result of that. And she starts tweeting out our private messages talking about the show. This was a message before the show ever was made. We had not even made one episode. It was all theoretical. I said, I think I need $55.45 to cover the cost of production. And she showed a screenshot of her saying, I'm being Jewy, by the way. Why did she post this? Why did she post this? She posted a screenshot of herself calling me Jewy for wanting 5% to cover the massiveness of this production. And again, it's like she can say whatever she wants about my being Jewish. She can make all the stereotypes, do everything she wants, and I can't ever fucking say shit. The minute I say anything to her, then it's like show's canceled. You know, it's just not an equitable relationship.
But in the last 16 hours, after her 6-7 videos, Trisha did a plethora of tweets, and we're going to go over those right now. I'm only halfway through, and Ethan is lying about me saying fire the whole crew. I've officially lost all respect for him. Show the receipts. Show me one time I said fire the whole crew. Hell, one time I said fire anyone. What the duck is wrong with you? There's a lot of awful truths about me you can expose, but just lying to the crew telling them I want them all fired? You are a bold-faced liar, and I would never have expected Ethan to be a liar. I'm in shock right now, like I am in shock. That's why the crew didn't want to work. You told them I wanted them fired? When have we ever had a conversation about them being fired? Where? He's not spinning something. He straight up made a lie. I wanted the crew fired and keeps reiterating that. The lies, the lies, the lies. Never in a million years did I peg him to be a liar. Like I seriously trusted him with my life. No contracts, nothing. I just really trusted him. I'm so confused. When Frenemies started, it was quarantine. Adding a Frenemies producing is not taking anybody's jobs away. I just met Zach this year, AB twice this year, and Ian, I believe, with the Streamies was his first episode of Frenemies this year. It was always me, Ethan, Dan, it was never the whole crew, ever. For months, it was just 3. He started bringing them more and more, and I did feel like an outsider, but I never complained and definitely never asked to fire them. What? Even if I thought everybody should be fired, why would I ever say that? Look up the videos of people who've worked with me. I'm not that person. Well, Trish, here's the thing. You did bash them behind the scenes and said that they're trash. You wanted to have a new producer for Frenemies, which would imply that you wanted to replace the producer for Frenemies, thus fired, or at least move him to a different position or something. Hiring a cameraman or a producer takes no one's jobs away. I'm so confused. They just recently started being more involved with vlogs. This is all new. H3 has expanded their employees by at least 4 since Frenemies started. It doesn't affect me at all. But if we're gonna have new people hired to help with Frenemies, where 100% of the highlights revenue is supposed to go, I would love to have somebody I vibe with. They're all friends. They've got to know each other for years. It would be nice to have gotten to hire someone, which we agreed that same night, that it was fine. There was no discussion of who has to go in order to make that happen. That's the thing I don't understand, Trish. She agreed to have a new producer come on specifically to cater your demands, and yet you still walked out and made a surprise drop attack video, putting out personal DMs. Like, he has all these receipts pulled from our DMs. Where's the receipts that I asked them to be fired? That's so out of the world ridiculous. I have no idea why he would tell them that. All the H3 employees come and I don't care. Come, keep them coming. I literally said how hard Ian works, but like we can't add more people, especially if we have the budget for that. Not the dumb 5%, but 100% of highlights. What's the big deal? Ethan saying that he makes $0 on Frenemies is another bold-faced lie. He makes what I make, which is a lot. And then he also keeps all the Frenemies highlights, which is like 5 million views per month since the beginning. He also promotes Teddy Fresh every episode, sponsorship, etc. I know what I make, he makes more, and he makes a lot. Why act like you're breaking even? Trish. He has said already multiple times that the extra money that he makes through highlights is put back into the show. You can make extra income and then put that money into creating and making your show better. Like, you truly don't understand financial issues. This never happened. He straight up lied about so much uploading a video now. He hired 4 more H3 employees. Trust me when I say Frenemies has a budget for 1 additional. It's all lies. The amount of money he makes is ridiculous. We sit in the same set from the beginning. We just recently invested in new cameras and staff on a salary. They get paid before and during after Frenemies. It's salary that existed before Frenemies came. Why would he not have us all in the room at the same time if there was any issues? I had no issues with the end of them. It's always been Ethan. He's deflecting. The office space was bought for H3 and Teddy Fresh pre-COVID. Frenemies wasn't even a thought. Me and Moses weren't even dating. Moses was working on that building before we dated. He's manipulating so much. The same way he forgot it was his idea, we text so much, but you look at the screenshot, he's the one who says the costume idea, question mark, with a pic, question mark, which he insisted on Monday's episode it was my idea. He forgot it was the same way. There's this weird thing where like she's focusing on like costume ideas and who gave idea. From everything that she's posted, they both gave costume ideas. They both reciprocated ideas back and forth. I don't know why this is happening. It's petty. It's stupid. Stop tweeting, Trisha, please, for the love of Christ. He literally told the crew, Trish wants to fire you. That's the opposite of having my back. That's just pinning us against each other. Come on, Trish, you don't think saying the employees are trash is pinning people against each other? Or at least making the room uncomfortable for them to be around you in a little bit of awkward situation? They got the studio before I even met Moses. Another lie he perpetuated to look like he did so much for me. That building was bought before I ever was in the picture. Hiring a producer and cameraman are two things we didn't have. That's not taking anybody's job away. They're all paid by salary before Frenemies. Frenemies didn't change the way they were paid. This is so dumb. If anything, they were probably working extra for the same pay. I don't know. 2 Ethan lies. Him telling me the crew needs to have a few days. And him not knowing I was quitting. On top of telling the crew I wanted to fire them, which is a lie. He's showing every other receipt but that one. One of the texts she posted says, regarding tomorrow, I think it's best we take time to cool off. The crew is kind of upset about how things played out. I don't blame them. You trashed them really badly. They work really hard on the show. Dude, let's just end this right now, for real. Like, okay, for real, it's better that I'm not part of it. How about instead of having an extreme reaction such as, I don't want to be part of the show, just say, you know what? I apologize to the crew, and like you apologize and reach out to them privately behind the scenes, and like, I didn't mean it this way or whatever, instead of making a plethora of terrible, disgruntled, weird, crazy videos that just make you look manic and makes you look crazy, because that's what it looks like. And you posting private DMs is really, 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 really bad. You're forcing somebody to have to talk about things that they don't really want to bring publicly, but you're forcing their hand. I literally wanted one person for me there. They're all for Ethan. We have the budget to hire one person to help me execute my ideas too. How is this hard for anybody to understand? Of course, my point, he said all costumes were my ideas. Literally none of them were. Well, there's text conversations that disprove that, but like, this is so petty and dumb. Like, I don't even really care about the cover, the costume shit. This is just like, I don't even know why I'm reading these tweets, honestly, but he does. That's why he's avoided it. He's always kept it all since day one. So here's the thing that just really irks me about Trisha is like she posted this text exchange, and I don't think she doesn't understand what's being said here. Ethan says we can do 50-50 on revenue from the main episodes plus the sponsors. She says, okay, works for me. Is basically just 50-50 on all money from the main episodes. There is highlights. We will just keep money to cover production costs and such. Okay, that makes sense to me if that's okay. Totally sweet. I'm excited, blah, 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 blah. So the highlights channel specifically, that is being used to cover production costs. So you have highlights and you have an extra 5%. Those two things go into the production costs. Trisha acts as if the highlights is all like he's just taking all this extra money and not putting it back into the show, which is the whole point. He's been transparent about these type of financial things from the beginning, but I don't think Trisha comprehends. She doesn't understand that or how financials work because she's never actually owned a production company. And I'm annoyed. Like, I don't even want to talk about this anymore. I think this is a kind of a good summary of the whole Frenemies situation. As of right now, as of 6/10/21, a lot has happened in the last 48 hours. But if you want to watch any of the videos in full, linked here. If you open the description box, expand that, all the videos are linked down below. I did leave a lot of stuff out in Ethan's response video that you may want to know about Trisha in response to her, but I really only wanted to condense this to the things that I found really relevant to show you how dysfunctional all of this is and how this will go down in internet history of a successful podcast gone wrong, all because of Trisha Paytas. Trisha, if by some crazy chance you're clicking on this and watching it, which you probably won't, I wish you absolutely no ill will, and I wish the absolute best for you in terms of finding better coping mechanisms to deal with problems or when you lash out like this. Because it's really dysfunctional, it's unhealthy. All in all, Frenemies has been a great run. It's been fun and entertaining to watch. I guess we'll see what comes up next on the H3 channel. If If you like this video, and you like any of my videos, make sure to hit that join button if you really want to support me. If you become a member of this channel, you will be able to see my videos 24 to 48 hours before release. All my socials are linked down below in the description. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you guys next week.